Alright, hey guys, and welcome to another film review. So today I have got Chucky Child's Play 2019 film. This I just watched it last night basically, and well, I must say that I am not a Chucky, a fanatic or fan or anything like that in the past. Regardless, I found this movie to be a decent horror film. We haven't had a lot of horror films like based on big franchises lately. We haven't had one since the Halloween film recent, I think last year, right? After that, I can't really recall. We didn't have a Conjuring yet. We're gonna have an Annabelle film coming up soon. So I guess this Chucky was the only like franchise horror film that came out so far this year. Godzilla is not horror, so I guess we can't really count that. I'm not really sure whether anything else came out, but you guys can let me know in the comments. So, once again, this is a spoiler review. So, if you are worried about spoilers, please skip this review for now and go ahead and watch the film first. Or if you don't mind the spoilers, then stick around. And once again, if this is your first time here, welcome, 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 and welcome. So, to start off, let me just say that this film was overall a very, how can I put it, different film in terms of the original Chucky series. Because the original Chucky basically revolves around this doll that is possessed by some soul, right? So it had a little bit of that human personality that we are familiar with. In this film, it's totally different. Chucky is some kind of a service android that works in your house, similar to Alexa. And of course, Alexa just listens to you and plays stuff or answers your questions. Chucky, on the other hand, is something like Google's smart home. It manages things in your house. And the reason they created this thing, they call it Buddy in the film, by the way. So the reason Buddy was created was more to handle kind of like babysitting and manage things in the house. So it was more so meant for children, and that's the reason why it looks like a doll. But at the same time, it can handle a lot of electronic devices in the house, and it learns the pattern of the people in the house and those growing up, so that it can actually help out with certain chores and manage certain applications and keep an eye on the child, because Buddy's eyes have these cameras that are always functioning to record whatever they see, and parents can use that to monitor their children. If there's any danger, buddies will warn them and stuff like that. So it's a very AI based technology like horror. Actually, it's nothing to do with the original like demon or ghost or supernatural stuff. This is absolutely much more realistic in a sense, as for those who are not really fans of the supernatural. um, for me, I don't know. I mean, I didn't know at the beginning how this would affect the attachment that we would have to the character of Buddy, because of the lack of humanization of the character. But eventually, thanks to Mark Hamill's amazing voice acting, you will somehow or rather understand that uh, Buddy was just doing, what it was designed to do. It was getting closer to the child and trying to keep the child happy. So the reason this particular Buddy turns evil was that in the manufacturing department, when the Buddy was getting created, one of the staff gets like pissed off by the employer. But this looks like some kind of Asian country. It could be, I'm not sure, Thailand or China. I think it looks Thailand. I'm not very familiar with the languages. So the employee gets pissed off, and then he kind of removes all of the safety modules inside this particular Buddy and then lets it go. So I was kind of disappointed in this scene, in the sense where I get it, he's removing the safety features, but he was just doing it to a single Buddy. And I mean, of course, it's possible that he didn't have access to all the buddies because they maybe may not give the access to the employees. But I would have been more impressed if it had a better backstory, like maybe the employee, was gonna get murdered or something, so he leaves like a personality behind, or something really evil happens to someone he loves or something, and he wants to take revenge, so he programs this, buddy to do evil stuff. But no, he just removes the safety protocols of the buddy, which allows it to curse, allows it to do harm to anyone or anything, and some simple rule stuff like obeying the rules of the master and stuff. So it just removes all of those protocols and it just leaves it be. So this buddy is just not bound by the safety rules that were set up. But I don't understand whether that was what caused the buddy to act weird, because the movie literally starts off with one of the employees falling off a roof and dying, and then they kind of give a scene to imply that this buddy did it. But the buddy was just born. Like, I don't understand at which point did it, just agree to just start killing people, because there wasn't a transition scene shown to us of to why the buddy wants to kill. Unless, of course, the employee actually, keys in "please kill all humans," then that makes more sense. But he didn't really do that. So I guess it was just messed up. It's just a messed up android that just turns out to be evil for some reason. So Buddy shows up in a very weird way. Some lady finds that the buddy has some malfunction because his eyes glow red, so she says it's rejected, and she returns it to the store. And at the store, there are two characters. One is Karen Barclay, who is the mother of this child, Andy Barclay as well. And Karen and Andy are like, she's like a single mom taking care of Andy. She is a very young mom. She had Andy when she was 16. Dad's not around. Very classic American story about, no dad, single mom kind of tale. And then the child, grows up with issues, considering the fact that he didn't really have a dad growing up. So the performances of the actors were reasonable. They did their part. Aubrey plays Karen, Aubrey Plaza. She did a reasonable role. She nothing really great to her performance. She's a good actress, but I guess they didn't really give her the much weight in the role. She was more of like the damsel in distress when Buddy finally goes after her. Before that, she never really listened to the child or anything like that. But she was naturally a mom and kind of the very sleazy character that they wanted her to be. But the other guy on the hand, the child Andy, who was played by Gabriel Bateman, I think, he did really well. And his performance was very important because the film was mostly just him and Buddy, and it really relied a lot on him. And I think for what he was given to do, he did a very good job at it. Of course, the script itself is not the best, but I felt that his performance was just right. Like, he didn't overdo it, he didn't underdo it. He could have done a little bit more emotional or powerful scenes of him actually realizing, the part where he realizes that Buddy is actually just trying to be his good friend. And those scenes were really important, but it's difficult to really feel that in some way, because the moment he realizes that Buddy actually kills someone eventually, he just straight up locks Buddy in like a closet. Like, I mean, you expect a little more tension. Like, your android just killed someone, and you're just locking him in a closet. It seems really weird. Like, I mean, just think about it. If you had an android in your house that you figured actually killed someone, would you lock it in your closet? Like, just in the closet? And it's not even locked, it's like closed doors or something. It's just that he doesn't want to move out. And then there's another scene where he locks it in like a little shelf and then it breaks out. And then he's like, oh shit, it broke out. I mean, like, come on, dude. The thing killed someone. You think you're gonna break out of a shelf? Anyway, it starts off with this mother who is working in a kind of a department store where a lot of buddies are on sale. So she gets a rejected buddy and she decides to just take it home as a birthday present for her son. So she takes it home, and then that's how Andy gets to meet the toy. So it's kind of it reminds me of the Andy from Toy Story kind of feeling, because his name is Andy as well, right? So it kind of came to that. And then they had this very interesting character of Detective Mike, who was played by Brian Tyree Henry, I think. And he was a very interesting character, Detective Mike, at the beginning. The way he portrays himself as like this cool, cheeky detective was really nice to see, but he didn't really do much in the film. His detective work was just showing up at crime scenes. Like they never showed him investigating, they never showed him figuring out anything. Like, the whole idea of a detective is to solve crime, but you just see him showing up at crime scenes, and we don't really see any crime solving involved. So that was a bit of a disappointment. He has a mom as well who's in the house. She had a very minor role, nothing very notable. Um, and then when Andy has a doll finally in the house, he starts to like, get close to the doll, and the doll gets close to him. He doesn't really have many friends because he has like a hearing issue, and then I think it affects his learning or something. And then he generally just keeps to himself. He likes to be on his mobile device, um, which I think is still reasonably fine for someone his age. I see a lot of kids these days are like that anyway, so I'm not gonna really question. I mean, I see a lot of adults like that as well. Just keep to yourself, just be on your phone, because everyone just tells you you're better off by yourself. It's a really bad thing to tell people anyway. Family is important, guys. Family is important. So, anyway, once he gets close to Buddy, they kind of form this very simple relationship where he's just, having fun with Buddy, trying to experiment things like, tell Buddy to say foul words because that's surprising because buddies are not allowed to curse, buddies are not allowed to harm objects. But he clearly knows his buddy is unique eventually because it can curse. It tries to kill his cat. It tries to choke his cat because his cat scratches him. So those little scenes are kind of nerve-wracking because you're like, oh no, is the cat gonna die? But then you don't really end up liking the cat in the first place. So we had this issue in the film throughout where you see Buddy killing people, but you never really have any attachments to them. And the only real major character that Buddy kills is his mom, Andy's mom's boyfriend, and he's just one of those bad boyfriends. Like in every other American film, this like single mom gets a boyfriend who's a complete asshole. It's just your rinse and repeat kind of story, and then Buddy goes after him to kill him. And that's the scene where you're like fine with him dying. You're basically fine with everyone dying in this film because most of those who die are like not really important characters because they keep the circle of characters very small. So Andy actually finally gets to make some friends. He gets to make a friend with this girl who's kind of a really tough and bully-like girl, and then this fat guy who is kind of a funny kiddo who hangs out with the girl as well. And those two are kind of, at Andy's circle of friends. So I expected some of them to get killed, honestly, because that would have made it a lot more intense. Because, obviously, watching this film from Andy's perspective, you get closer to Andy's friends and Andy's mom. And other than those group, the rest of them are not very, appealing. Because, okay, maybe if the detective got killed, it would have been interesting. The detective just get attacked at one point, but he gets attacked towards the very end, and he doesn't really die because he eventually comes back or something. Um, but like the in between killing scenes were all very, like whatever, they died. The boyfriend died. Oh well, we wanted him to die, and then this creepy guy who fixes cameras in everyone's house as well dies. He's apparently like a maintenance guy who works in this apartment that Andy and his mom are living in, and he basically fixes cameras in everyone's houses to like creep on them, and then he dies as well because Buddy kills him. So you're fine with him dying as well. And then the detective's mom dies, which is kind of sad because you kind of like her character, but then you never really get close to her because she doesn't really do much besides just be nice. So it's kind of like that throughout. But regardless, it had a lot of decent gore in the film. Not too gory, I guess. Very basic minimum gore, head coming off, blood splashing everywhere. It's nothing. gory to the point that it lasts too long or the screams are too long, because they don't really show the slicing off of many things. They just show people falling onto like blades and then things getting splattered, or they show the but there's this one really graphic scene which is a lawnmower going over someone's head, which also splatters everywhere. And then the creepiest, I feel the creepiest scene in this entire in this entire film was one where Buddy actually like flays the face of the mother's boyfriend, because it was based on, what is that movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre? It's the one where I think it's the hillbilly or someone. I think it's the hillbilly. I'm not very sure. It's one of those Dead by Daylight characters as well. The one where he flays off the skin, the face of other people. It's not the can. It's not Hannibal Lecter. It's someone else. And then he wears the face. So Buddy basically flays the face off the mom's boyfriend, and then brings it to the house like as like a gift, and leaves it at the like on the shelf of Andy. And then Andy just wakes up and he's like going about his day, going to the bathroom, and then he suddenly sees this face in the room and then starts screaming. And then it's like the moment of realization of everyone watching the film as well, and we start screaming. So that was kind of cool, and that was probably the best part of the film, which was literally a human flayed face in the house. And that's the creepiest thing, because everything else people just die and you don't really get much follow up on it. And the detectives, like there's a lot of crime scenes in this film, but the detectives don't really do much detective work. Like there's never any cameras apparently. In such a digital age where people are using androids to do half of their house chores and monitor children, you'd expect some form of security cameras or technology, because this buddy is really powerful. This buddy can use its own technological ability to control devices around it. So you'd expect things to show up like what happened to the footage of the murder, and then they say like, oh, maybe the footage was altered or it was deleted. You'd expect something like that, but you don't get any of that. It's just investigations where there's a dead body and there's no footage of it ever mentioned or anything like that. So the film lacked creativity and intelligence, but regardless, it was a fun film. It was fun in the sense where it's a different approach to the original Chucky character. It was less spiritual and it was more technological. But I guess they could have done a lot more with it. The potential was there. They just didn't, take much time giving it character. Instead, they just more so focus on just this boy trying to, understand this android, and then the android just ends up killing everyone, and the boy tries to get rid of it, and then it eventually comes back as a toy of one of his other friends, because he basically destroys Buddy eventually when he finds out Buddy kills someone. And then that's how the repairman gets Buddy, because he finds it in the dumpster, and then he kind of fixes it up. The maintenance guy, the creepy guy, he fixes it up, and then he tries to resell it. He dies to it, and then someone else buys the Buddy. No one knows how he buys it or how it gets to the store, but someone else buys Buddy, and that guy turns out to be someone in the circle of Andy's friends as well. And then Andy suspects that new Buddy was his original Buddy, and then turns out to be true. He figures it out too easily as well. And as it turns out, he can actually access the Buddy's like visual camera, the eye camera, throughout, and the Buddy never does anything to stop that. So I don't know like how intelligent this Buddy is supposed to be, but when it's conveniently intelligent, and then allows us to watch camera footage as well. So it was very, it's just that um they kind of lacked the intelligence to, perhaps, like, it didn't feel like a very intelligent film. That's the general thing I'm trying to say. So yeah, anyway, that's the gist of the film. Of course, there are some nitty gritty details in the plot, but they're not really important, because this was more of like a slasher, mini slasher film, because it's literally a mini doll. And the ending was okay. There was kind of a showdown between Andy and the doll and the mom, where the doll kidnaps the mom, and then the Andy goes after, his mom to the doll to like save his mom. It's very your standard basic ending, nothing too outstanding there. Andy manages to destroy the doll in the end, together with his friends, and then the film pretty much comes to a closure. So this film was mostly carried by Mark Hamill's amazing voice acting for Buddy. The music from Bear McCreary kept it very interesting as well. The character of Andy, played by Gabriel Bateman, was fantastic as well. But other than that, there's not much else new to the film, nothing very special or interesting. So don't get shocked. Here comes the rating. So 3 out of 10 for me. If you ask me, I can give it a 4 because of Mark Hamill's performance. But then again, he wasn't given that much of a role to play. Like if the dialogues perhaps were better, there could have been more personality to the character of Buddy. But you are throughout just put to believe that Buddy is still just an android that's just malfunctioning. And if people just smash it up, it's broken and it's over. It's not like the Chucky from the previous films where you try to destroy it but it comes back, or it's like something that's possessing the doll so it can do a lot of creepy shit. In this, it does creepy shit by manipulating electronic devices around people, and even then, the electronic devices around are not that creepy or powerful. Only in the ending, there's this scene in the convenience store where the final showdown happens, where Buddy basically controls the other androids in the store, and there's this other android called the Buddy Bear, which is like a little bear-like thing that comes around to kill people as well because he controls it. That was kind of cool and creepy because it's like this little teddy bear that kills people. But the intensity of the film was not good enough. You don't really feel scary. I mean, like, yeah, it doesn't really feel much of like a scary film. The jump scares too were okay. There's not that great jump scares. They should have stuck to the creepy tone of, like, the flayed face and those kinds of scares, because those scares were actually more impressive. And then they had a few good killing scenes. The one where the detective's mom dies was not very good. The one where the mother's boyfriend dies was a much. I feel that was a better killing scene, but it happened a little bit, too simple, I guess, because he just falls down from a ladder, breaks his leg, and then he tries to crawl up to his phone, and then lawnmower gets him when Buddy comes, and then like all of this commotion is happening, um, like right in the front yard, like the lawn. But apparently, there's no one around the house, like no neighbors, nothing in the park. It doesn't feel very realistic. It felt very like you're just there to see the scene of Buddy killing people, and yep, that's the gist of it. The tension of like the boy Andy trying to prove to people that the doll is killing people. That was actually the thing that kind of kept this film going. Other than that, it didn't really play much of a big deal. So yeah, if you want to watch it just for kicks, you can go ahead and watch it for kicks. Other than that, it's not that much great of a film. I personally felt the previous Chucky film was better. Wait, let me just look it up. Um, what is it? Curse of Chucky? I think Curse of Chucky was better, right? Than Cult. Yeah, I think Curse of Chucky was the one that was pretty good, the 2013 film. And then there's one recently called Cult of Chucky 2017. I didn't really like that one very much. I think the previous one was better, the Curse of Chucky film. Yeah. So compared to that, this one is nowhere near that. It's really bad. But they had a good concept once again. Like a lot of good films these days, a lot of bad films these days. They have good concept, but they have poor execution. So that's pretty much this film. But if you guys want to, get the overall like idea of Mark Hamill's performance, you can just go and check out the soundtracks for this film made by Ben McCreary, and you'll hear Mark Hamill singing one of the creepiest songs that this is called what You Are My Buddy. It's called You Are My Buddy, and it's a pretty creepy song. So yep, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. So yep, that's about it. Adios.